I'm Alan Moore. This is my brother.
I'm Daryl.
We are in Sumter County, South Carolina, March 22nd, opening day of the 2021 turkey season. Very fortunate this morning that a longbeard did come to visit us. Maybe not the exact way we anticipated, but it was very exciting the way he came in. Opening day is always exciting. Many times it's a time when you find out what you forgot at home. There's a lot of equipment that you can take turkey hunting. If you see some of this footage, you'll notice us carrying pretty much a sporting goods store on our backs as we go in and come out. And it's not unusual to leave something behind. As long as you have your shotgun and your tags and your shells, you're okay. You can make do. We spent a good bit of time establishing a place for us to sit, since there were quite a few of us and a lot more gear than normal. In many cases, you can just plop down at the base of a tree with a few myrtle bushes in front of you and successfully escape the eyes of a wild turkey, which are incredibly sharp. But we did a little bit more than we normally do because of the number of people involved with this hunt. And it worked out. We did not get busted at a bird that was inside of 20 yards. So that's considered a success. For me, if I hear a bird gobble, I've had a great day. For somebody to pull the trigger on a hunt is just extremely exciting.
Absolutely.
We've got quite a few trail cameras scattered around the place, as most people do. Just about anybody that owns any property has trail cameras. And we got started with them probably close to, jeepers, 25 years ago, where you had to have two pieces of equipment. You had to have a transmitter and then a receiver. It shot a beam between the two, and when the beam was broken, then the camera would take a picture. That was back when you had film, and you had to get it developed. So that was always exciting. I don't think we ever went anywhere but the 1 hour developing place, so it was a pretty expensive way to track animals. Then they came up with the single unit, the motion detection, the heat sensor, still using developing film. And of course, going to digital was just a huge leap in technology. I don't know of anybody that owns just one trail camera. Most folks have 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12. The most recent advance in cell cameras now is in cell cameras. Trail cameras is cell cameras, where they will send a picture to either your cell phone or your computer. And you can set that up to be real time, or you can set it up to send them once a day. And it gives you the chance to determine what's using the area right in front of the camera. Now, it's not going to tell you everything. It's just going to tell you what happens right in front of that little spot in front of the camera. But it's fascinating. Thanks to my sons, I have several set up out here, and it allowed us to hone in on the area to hunt, but it also will drive you crazy, telling you, oh, you should have been over here. Look what's over on this other end of the property. And I had a friend who went to Kentucky this year bow hunting, and he had that same situation. He'd climb a tree to hunt deer, and it would show him a big 8 or 10 point on the other ridge over where he had his camera, but it wasn't hunting, and it absolutely drove him crazy. So they are a tremendous asset. They still don't beat what they call boots on the ground, seeing the birds, seeing the sign, the tracks, the droppings, the scratchings, the diggings, or seeing the birds themselves. Nothing will ever beat that, but they are a big help and a lot of fun. And the neat thing about the turkeys is they go to bed at sundown and wake up at sun up. And so the pictures of the turkey is almost always going to be daylight picture. Matter of fact, they will be daylight picture. And it's also one of the neat things about hunting them, whereas a deer right now would be laying down somewhere in a thicket where odds of you seeing it are infinitesimal, that the turkey's out there somewhere. He's out there somewhere. He may not be moving around much. He may be standing in one spot, but he's there. He's on the ground moving during the daylight. I've got to give credit to the NWTF too. That foundation is extremely valuable, and without them, we wouldn't be hunting turkeys here right now. The Wild Turkey Restoration Project is one of the premier stories of the conservation movement. And the NWTF, based right here in South Carolina and outside of Edgefield, a tremendous organization. And matter of fact, they supplied some of the crops that the chufas that we planted in this area, which without the chufas, the turkeys would probably move in and out of this little area we have. It's not much, less than 100 acres. But without those chufas, the turkeys may not even be here to hunt. They love it. It's turkey ice cream. Been planting it for over a decade now, and it's just incredible what a turkey will do to get to chufa plant. So very grateful to the NWTF for providing access to the chufas and the expertise on how to grow them properly. So it's been very successful, along with the other things that we do. Tree management's a big one. We do plant pines to grow for the forestry industry. So you got to work that into your wildlife plan as well. And that's turned out to be successful so far as well. Just grateful to have the birds around. They're so fun to deal with, the interaction with them. They can frustrate you. They can drive you absolutely batty. And then every now and then, like this morning, it'll work out. And the grins pop out and the back slapping and the high fives. And it's just a beautiful animal. They're fun to interact with. They're fun to deal with on a year-round basis. And I use decoys. Use a strutter early in the year and a hen. This morning, putting the strutter together, you're supposed to slide the fan down onto a bolt and then affix it with a wing nut. Well, I didn't quite get it slid down enough. And so after we heard the first bird down behind us, probably a quarter of a mile, he only gobbled about 4 times. I don't know, 10 minutes after that maybe, the fan fell off of the decoy. Knowing Jason, he's got it on camera. And so I snuck out there to remedy that mistake, was successful in doing so. Made everything look like it's supposed to. And then probably somewhere around 7:45, a crow called, and somewhere in the middle of his call, I thought I heard a gobble. And we were about 7 yards, I was 7 yards from you guys, and whispered over, "Did you hear that?" And the answer was no. And a few moments later, the crow called again, and this time the gobble came after the crow call. And when I asked if you had heard the gobble that time, the answer was yes. But little did I know that the big river birch in front of you created an acoustic anomaly, and that later on you guys told me you thought it was the same bird that we'd heard down to our left. And of course, I, sitting where I was, had him pinpointed just straight across the field from us, probably somewhere 250 to 300 yards.
I tend to hunt more in the upper part of the state, a little bit more challenging for me, where we may be in a forest setting, we may be in a hayfield setting, a lot more rolling hills. You don't have this morning, that bird was what, 150 yards away? First saw?
First saw him?
Yeah,
yes.
First saw him. So you got great distances and all there. So more challenging for me. I don't have quite the expertise in the calling, his understanding of the calling, and the interacting with the birds that he mentioned early on. So I believe I got perhaps a more challenging environment, less experience than he has. And he was just gracious to say, come on out, opening day. The trail cameras showing some good activity, and let's see if we can't make something good happen.
If you're where a turkey wants to be, you are a good chance you'll have success. If you're not where a turkey wants to be, you can be one of the best turkey callers in the world. And there's a good chance that turkey's going to say, no thank you, I'm not going over there. There are a number of different calls. Some are easier than others, some are harder than others. My favorite is a box call. You can reach out. Those birds that this morning were 300, 400 yards away from us, they heard me. There's no doubt they heard me. This fellow that we first heard him about 250, 300 yards away, he heard it. He heard it. Now, he may have been coming to that spot we were anyway, and I don't doubt that he was, but it helped him to focus on the other end of the patch we were on. He came out of the woods on the other side and immediately came straight across because he had already heard us. Once he got inside of 50, I switched to what they call a slate call. It's a piece of rock slate, and you have a wooden or acrylic, or you can even use a turkey bone striker, and you pull it across the surface and the friction will create a sound. that hopefully sounds like a turkey, sounds like a hen turkey. I had a mouth call in my mouth, what they call a mouth yelper or diaphragm call. Did not use it, didn't need to. I'm a minimalist when it comes to the calling. Once again, I feel if I'm in the right place, that the more I talk, the more I can say something he doesn't like. So I'm a minimalist on that. And once he started coming, I think I might have hit him twice more on the slate. The other thing is they have a tremendous ability to pinpoint exactly the source of the call.
Unbelievable.
And we had 2 decoys out, and I was off to one side, and being left-handed, I was on the wrong side, because if the turkey had come to me, it'd have been on his left side, and we'd have been trying to get the gun on the other side of the birch tree and all that wonderful stuff. So I also did not want him to focus on where he'd heard the sound and let the decoys take over and steer him in the direction we needed to for both the camera and for the shotgun. But once I definitely heard him across, I called to him once with the box call, and then started noticing some birds on the ground out there, a flock of cardinals actually, would flush and then go back and then flush, and so something's pushing those birds up out of the ground. And the binoculars then were able to pick out his white and red head, blue head, all the way across the field, at about somewhere close to 180 yards when I first saw him. And then I notified you guys what direction and how far you needed to look to see him. And surprisingly, you told me you could see him early on, because I was sitting up higher than you.
Yeah, could see him naked eye, and then with the binoculars you could definitely make out the blue and the red head. And then he just slowly started making his way toward us. And wasn't more than 10 minutes, I don't think, the trek. Probably more like 6, 7, 8.
I don't know, I lose track of time when you're coming like that.
It's definitely doesn't come running, but it's interesting to watch, and he's careful. He's checking the environment all around him, looking for any kind of danger. Didn't see it, so continued to come in, got closer to the decoys, felt more at ease. And as we mentioned, I'm left-handed, so I'm set up to the right side of the tree. So my best shooting is straight ahead or to about my 3 o'clock area. So he started to go to my left behind the tree. So now I'm trying to figure out, okay, if he goes to the left and he's within range, do I switch over and try to go to a right-handed shot? Fortunately, he came back toward the decoys and presented a really good shot, but it was right beside the tree. So I already had the gun up, but I had to do a little bit of an angle to the shot and then pull the trigger. And I think we marched off about 18 yards. So couldn't have been a better setup.
It worked out well.
Everything came together. Really, really good.
Thank you.
I was
Thank you.
absolutely glad.
Man.
Yeah, comes out of you got a double beer bird?
Yeah,
Look at you. And the shorter one's on the front.
beautiful bird.
You see the spurs? Check the 2 spurs. I saw something different. The right ones. Fairly similar. You know what? I don't know where he was this morning. He could have just been silent back in there. He could have been a half a mile away. He just headed here to look for the girl. Bird.
March 22nd, open today. There we go.
I just love the experience. Just love listening to the birds, watching them come in or not come in. And if somebody's there to pull the trigger, that makes it fantastic. We try to share it. We try to pass it on as much as we can. Daryl's taken his kids. I've taken mine. But it was his turn this year, and he took advantage of it.
And it's always, great delight to hunt with family, and Alan is genuinely just as happy with one of us pulls the trigger as if he does himself. So it's a lot of fun to see him pour himself into the success of the hunt and just rejoice as much as if he was the one taking the bird.